Hello, my name is Thinkbrit, and thanks for taking the time to watch my EduPD video on school culture. Before I get started, I want to invite you to email me with comments, questions, or ideas at any point. I'm always happy to clarify, brainstorm, and get new ideas, as I always do from those of you on Tumblr. You can contact me at thinkbrit@gmail.com. One of the main questions I received in response to my survey was, how do we start? I was lucky enough to begin teaching at a school with really strong foundations around school culture, so I haven't been there from the beginning of building it. However, I do know that there are a few keys to creating a strong culture. Firstly, relationships are key. All our work as educators is built around relationships, and isn't that what culture is? Relationships are important among staff, parents, and students, and they need to be a priority. Building relationships is all about asking questions, communicating expectations, and working to know others, staff, administration, parents, and students, as people. People need to know you're interested in them and their thoughts, feelings, and well-being. Great resources I've used around this are Teaching with Love and Logic and the First 6 Weeks of School. You may be saying, that's great, but what does that look like? And the answer is that it's different for every classroom. As an elementary school teacher, I have a lot of leeway to do a lot of team building, community work, and discussions throughout the day, which means that my students have a built-in sense of community. For those of you at a middle or high school level, it's going to look quite different when your kids are moving in and out of your classroom throughout the day in different periods and have several different teachers over the course of the day. Of course, the next natural question is, what strategies do you have for building relationships? Among staff, I tend to seek feedback and advice about things I'm doing in my own classroom. I get to know them outside of school and learn about their interests and their family. And I frequently participate in staff community and team building that my administration works hard to organize so that we can model the kind of community that we hope our students to have. Among families, I try to do preemptive positive communication at the beginning of the year to start our relationship off on a positive note. One strategy I have is also listening conferences, which I'm happy to talk more about during our Google Hangout on air. I also have a class website, which I use to share information, photos, and expectations, and that goes a long way in establishing positive relationships with families. And of course, among students, this is where we want to build community the most and build culture the most. I daily have a morning meeting and closing circle where we share our thinking, share our experiences, talk about how our learning and our day has gone. We do student-led conferences, drum circles, which I would be happy to share more with you about during the Google Hangout on air, team building activities, and of course, my students help shape the classroom environment and expectations. They already have a buy-in and are able to communicate what they want the community and culture to feel like in our classroom over the course of the year. So what does this look like for me in my classroom? I teach 4th grade, and I'm very lucky to have a school administration that places a high value on culture and community. It's an explicit area of focus for both administration and for teachers. I'll give you guys an overview of some of what I mentioned and what it looks like for me in my classroom. Yes, drum circles. My school has drum circles every Monday morning during morning meeting. We gather together as a crew and sit in a circle with our drums. At the beginning of the school year, students who are new to the school make their own drums. It's pretty sweet. The bodies are made out of cardboard tubes and the heads are goat skin that the kids actually tie-dye with our art teacher. It's pretty great. The drums also have handprints on them. Every year a child is at the school, they add a new handprint for that year. Teachers do it too, so I've got 3 handprints on my drum. During our drum circle, we talk about the circle of courage, which I'll talk about during our Google Hangout on air. But basically, it's a circle, and it has 4 different quadrants: generosity, mastery, independence, and belonging. We talk all year about what it means to show these traits, how we can display them both in our drum circle and in our community during class time. And we really try hard to make sure there's a clear connection between the time that we spend drumming and the leadership that is shown during our drum circles and what we do in the classroom when we work as a crew. Typically the way a drum circle works is that there's one student who stands in the center of the circle and gives a beat, and then everybody else, after several beats, plays along with them. And then the child in the center, the leader, breaks the circle into different quadrants and gives a variety of beats, and it ends up sounding pretty cool. And the kids actually make a neat connection between the leadership that they get to experience and also what it feels like to be a part of something bigger than themselves in a very concrete way. It does a lot to build community within our classrooms. Morning meeting is one of my favorite things that I get to do during the day. It's how we begin our day. All of my students know that when the second bell goes, they come sit down in a circle on the floor in our meeting area. And it's important that we all sit in a circle and not in a big clump or in a big group because we're able to see everybody as part of the circle. And typically, morning meeting will run about 20 to 25 minutes. This year I had IAs or specials right away at 9 o'clock, and morning meeting would start at 8:40. So I had about 20 minutes for morning meeting this past year. Next year, I don't have IAs right away, so I'll have a little bit more time for morning meeting, which I'm really looking forward to. But typically, the students will come, sit down in a circle right away, and typically my first order of business is to get started right away by going over the day's schedule. It kind of grounds us in our work together for the day and allows kids to see what we're doing, to ask questions if they have any about what we're going to be doing during the day or if there's any special events that they can feel comfortable in what's going to happen over the course of the day. And to make sure that we're all kind of on the same page. After the schedule reading, we'll do some kind of a greeting. The morning meeting book is a really great resource for that. There's another one that is 99 greetings and activities for morning meeting. It's a really great one too. A few are just, sometimes I'll have them just turn and shake the hand of their neighbor. Sometimes it's get up and ask a particular question to 3 other people and be ready to share what you heard from somebody else. One that my kids really love is something called Shoe Twister, where each child takes off their shoe and throws it or puts it in the middle. We don't throw shoes, but they put it in the middle, and then every kid gets up and gets a shoe, and they have to find the person that the shoe belongs to and go and greet them. It's pretty fun. Another good one is the snowball greeting, where a kid writes down, I'll have a question maybe on the board, and they'll write down the answer on a scrap piece of paper, crumple it into a ball, throw it into the middle, and then grab another one. And after about 10 to 15 seconds of that, everybody has a piece of paper in their hand, and we go around the circle and share the answer to the question. So it's a really good way to kind of start the day with kids feeling greeted and feeling acknowledged. That's something that's really important. I forget to mention also that I always stand at the door to my classroom to greet the students as they come in, and I say their name and ask them how they're doing as they come in the door. It's a really important way, I think, for them to come into the classroom. After greeting, so after we do our greeting, typically we'll have some kind of sharing. And this is a place where it varies a lot what I do with my kids. Sometimes it's a poem that we'll read and we'll talk about what it might mean. Sometimes it'll be a piece of text that's related to something that we're studying. Sometimes it's a song. My kids love it. I sing all the time with my kids. Sometimes it's silly songs like the Chiquita Banana song, and then sometimes it's a popular song. This year, my kids all learned Radioactive, and we sang it at an all-school meeting, or Best Day of My Life, or What Does the Fox Say? So sometimes we'll learn a song and sing it. Sometimes the kids share, so sometimes they'll have something that they really want to talk about, and I'll give them the opportunity to share it with our class. On Fridays, usually I'll go around and say what's something you either enjoyed about this week or something that you're looking forward to over the weekend, and the kids always love it. Morning meeting, I tend to find, is a really great way to center us and ground us and make sure that everybody knows that we're here and we're at school and you're welcome to be here, and we're all here to support you. And to support each other. And it's not something that I would ever let go of. And I think that even if you're in a middle school or high school setting, there could be ways to incorporate something like morning meeting into your schedule. And if you are somebody who's in a middle school or high school setting and you have something like this, I would be excited to hear what you do and how you've adapted this to suit your own needs. We also always start the school year with a pretty heavy focus on team building and come back to it several times over the course of the year. Part of that is unique to our school because we do have an adventure ed, outward bound aspect to our school. But I also think that a lot of it really could be applied to any school and any setting to really build culture and community. At the beginning of the year, I start simple. I'll do things like line up by your birth date and you're not allowed to talk. You have to figure out how to communicate that without talking. Or things like choose one side or the other. If you prefer chocolate ice cream, go over to the left. If you prefer vanilla ice cream, go over to the right. Or if you're more like a cucumber or a jalapeno, go to one side or the other, and then we'll talk about why, as kind of getting to know you team building activities. And then after we've done some easier stuff like that, we progress to harder stuff. One that's really easy that I like to do with crews over the course of the year to see how they improve is the human knot, where the kids all kind of stand in a circle and everybody reaches in with their right hand and grabs somebody else's hand. Then they reach in with their left hand and grab somebody else's left hand, and then they have to untangle the knot that they've made. It requires pretty intense communication and some good strategies, and it's different every time. So it's not like they can come up with one strategy and have it work every time. It's a good way to talk about communication as well. And then from there, we even progress to slightly harder things such as generating norms for the classroom. One protocol I like to use is what I need and what I can give. So the kids generate ideas on a piece of paper, on a sticky note, or on a chart of what I need and then what I can give to the class. And then from there, we're able to generate a kind of set of norms. Typically, it becomes a crew contract that we refer to and use all year. But no matter whatever kind of team building you're doing, and there are some great resources out there. One of my favorites is called Journey Toward the Caring Classroom. I don't remember the author, but it's a fantastic book, and it's available on Amazon, and it's also listed on the resources in our Google Drive folder, so I encourage you to check it out. It's called Journey Toward the Caring Classroom. Fantastic book with lots of great team building ideas in it. But one thing I always do, no matter what team building activity it is, even if it's a really simple one, like choose one side or the other, is there's always a debrief. There's always an explicit discussion of what happened, what went well, what they can learn from next time, and how they can apply what they learned or noticed outside of that team building activity. One of my favorite debrief activities that's really simple that I think everyone can use, not only for team building, but also for any kind of experience, is called Rose, Bud, Thorn. It's really simple. You share a rose, a bud, and a thorn. The rose is something that you enjoyed or something that was your favorite or something that went really well. A bud is something that you learned or something that you're looking forward to. And a thorn is something that was challenging but something that you were able to overcome. It works really great to debrief from team building, especially if you use it frequently over the course of the year. It becomes almost second nature. All I have to say is, okay, rose, bud, thorn time, and the kids think for a few minutes, and then they're able to share. Could be about team building, could be about an adventure education experience, anything like that. In addition to our team building, we do adventure education experiences. Twice a year, we go on overnight voyages. In fourth grade, they are 3-day, 2-night voyages. In the fall, we go up in the mountains. We go camping. The kids, the first night, sleep in a platform tent. The second night, they actually go set up camp. They sleep under tarps and learn how to kind of set up camp and what that really feels like. They cook their own food. They do a lot of pushing of their own boundaries and pushing of comfort zones, and we talk explicitly about that a lot too. That it's not just a comfort zone that you have when you're out in the woods, it's a comfort zone that you have at school. And how can you, and in life, how can you expand that comfort zone? We talk about comfort zone, growth zone, and panic zone, and you want to be in the growth zone where you're pushed, but you're not panicky. That panic zone is where you freeze up and you can't possibly do anything. And we, as teachers, make a big effort to make sure that that transition and the relationship between what the kids do in adventure ed and in team building applies to their lives at school as well. But the adventure ed experiences I tend to find are fantastic. I get to see my kids in a different light. We do a ton of team building and a ton of explicit discussion about what they've learned about themselves, what they've learned about their classmates, and how they'll be able to use those skills that they've learned dealing with difficult situations, being pushed out of their comfort zone, being uncomfortable within a classroom. And the kids over the years, because they do start in kindergarten, and by sixth grade they go for a whole week and they pack in, pack out, and climb a mountain. I mean, it's pretty intense by the time they're in sixth grade, and it's amazing how articulate these kids can be and what an effect it has on our culture and community at our school, that these kids have been pushed outside of their comfort zones and know that they can take on whatever they want to take on or need to take on, which is amazing. So I know that most schools don't have that adventure ed or outward bound piece, and it's not an easy addition. I mean, it requires a lot of buy-in. It requires buy-in from our parents, from our students, from our administration, from our teachers, from our district. It's a big deal. But it is very easy to take the team building things, and honestly, the team building can be 10 minutes at the beginning of a class period once a month. Even that little amount really, really helps to build a really strong culture where kids feel comfortable asking for help. They feel confident because they know that they can overcome challenges. They feel like they can trust members in their class, which is huge. We know that that's hard to do, and are more willing to take those kind of intellectual risks that they may not take if they don't trust their teachers and their classmates. So it's a quick and easy thing to do, and I will be happy to share more resources with you during our Google Hangout on air, as well as on the resource page in our Google Drive folder. Thank you again for joining me to listen to my EduPD talk on building school culture. I know there's a lot that I haven't addressed, but I also am sure that you have particular questions, and I feel like I would be more than happy to answer all of your questions during our Google Hangout on air. There's a lot more that I would love to talk to you guys about, including love and logic, restorative practices, more about student-led conferences and portfolios, listening conferences, all-school meetings, character traits, and anything else that you've heard here that you would like more clarification on, or even to brainstorm about how you might take what you've heard here and apply it within your own classroom. What it does all boil down to are the relationships. That is the key piece, and I think that if you're trying to start anywhere, you should start by building relationships among staff if you can. I know that that's not necessarily realistic for everybody watching this video, but it's a good place to start. If not there, start with your families. Reach out to them before the school year starts or as soon as you can during the school year and establish a positive connection with them. And then, of course, on the day-to-day, within your own classroom, really showing students that you value them. I know we all do, but I also know that it's really easy to get caught up in all of the other stuff that goes with teaching. But at the end of the day, it's about the students and it's about the relationship and the culture that we form with them. So again, I encourage you, please reach out, email me. Again, the email address is thinkbrit@gmail.com. You can also send me fan mails or asks on Tumblr, and I look forward to seeing you in our Google Hangout on air. I haven't scheduled it yet, but I'm going to look at my calendar and figure out exactly when we're going to do it, and I cannot wait to watch all of the other videos that all of our other Tumblrs have put together for this EduPD 2014, hopefully first, maybe annual. That would be fantastic, and I really look forward to the discussions that this will spark. Thank you so much.